This earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us. We've already warmed 1 degree Celsius, and do you know what's happened since then? Here, let me tell you. We have had more food grown since then, which feeds people. We are able to, producing fossil fuels keeps people's houses warm in the winter. That saves people's lives. People die in the cold.
Right.
This earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us. It helps us to feed people. It helps keep people alive. It helps. The earth is more green than it was years and years ago, and that's because of the earth warming. That's because of carbon.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Environmental Coffee House. I am Sandy Shellis with Jim Massa, oceanographer extraordinaire, and it's great to see you all tonight for this show of dispelling bullshit and also to understand exactly what's happening with the hurricane. And as Jim will tell you, it's the sea surface temperatures. It's the oceans, dummies. Well, hello. It's great to see you, Jim.
Howdy. Hello,
Howdy. What's going on?
Well, let's see. We actually had a dusting of snow this morning up here in Fairbanks.
Oh, you did? Oh, my goodness. It's starting already.
About
Yes,
a millimeter.
it is.
So it wasn't anything really to get excited about.
No, but I had my first fire in the wood stove yesterday because it got a little nipply, and I still am not finished cleaning out everything. But well, here we are. So you had snow, we had a little cold, but it's just great. And so we started out with Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene and her greening of the planet. And Jim, I'm sure you'll be able to talk a little bit about why she is wrong. But we definitely are going to cover some ground tonight. We're going to cover the bullshit. We're going to cover some of this crap. We're going to cover the hurricane. But first, I think because of the stream I did yesterday and talking about all of the nefarious plots that are out there and really all the misinformation and disinformation, which is really very dangerous. You know, I thought that maybe we would start with, before we go into our thing, because we have a presentation and everything, we would start with a video to get you all warmed up. Okay, everybody get all warmed up. Share the video, like the stream, and do all that. And let me set this up. We'll start with someone we all know and love.
Jacobson is a climate analyst and retired professor of math and computer science. He joins me now from Santa Barbara in California. Appreciate you being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
So Hurricane Milton is barreling toward the Florida coast right now. It's one of the top 10 strongest hurricanes ever recorded, the planet's strongest storm this year, now a Category 5. And Milton comes on the heels of the deadly force of Hurricane Helene. Brazil's Amazon region is experiencing its worst drought in 122 years, and we're seeing extreme flooding in West and Central Africa. So how much of all this can be directly linked to climate change?
So there are attribution studies that can try and link any given event to climate change, but we don't want to just go around pointing fingers at events and saying that's climate change, that's climate change. What we know is that climate change is going to make all of these events happen more often. They'll be more intense when they happen, and they'll last longer. And that's what we see over and over. We see more of these extreme events happening, and that is the fingerprint of climate change.
So how should we be responding to this new normal created, for the most part, by climate change? What do we need to be doing right now?
So it's a good question, especially your use of the phrase, the new normal. So what we need to understand is we're just passing through this moment. We don't have any idea of what a new normal will be or where we're headed. It has a lot to do with the sorts of decisions that are made right now, both locally, globally, and in every sort of political environment. So things will get a lot worse than they are now. They will continue to get worse for at least the next 30 to 50 years, pretty much no matter what we do. we have to be thinking of a future for our children and grandchildren right now with the decisions we make. So I just want to say that the new normal, unfortunately, is still a long way off.
So how should nations rebuild after these extreme weather disasters? And also, how should they be building for the future to adjust to the new conditions created and being created by climate change?
Well, one thing to understand is that scientists really do have a good idea of certain parts of the planet that are going to become sort of inhospitable to civilization. And these include certain coastal regions that are going to flood, certain regions that are simply going to get too hot to sustain human life, and certain places that are expected to have massive droughts or massive flooding. So what we need to do is trust the scientists who are identifying these regions and understand that migration is going to be taking place on a global scale. And we have to understand that climate migration will be part of our future, and that allowing our fellow humans to find another home is part of our responsibility. So I think that's the number one thing we need to do, is understand that the climate is being degraded globally and everybody deserves a home.
And we do see this, don't we? Because in flood zones, in areas that are not really habitable anymore, people do just keep rebuilding and trying to live there. At what point, and what is the process of saying this is no longer a habitable region? People need to find an alternative. What is that process?
Well, I think, unfortunately, that humans are very stubborn about this, and we often hear the phrase, well, we're going to rebuild. And you just look at, for example, what's happening in Tampa. They just had a record-breaking 7-foot, well, if you like, 2-meter storm surge, right? That was the all-time record set just 10 days ago. And now we're expecting, with this new hurricane, double that to come into the same region. I mean, what's happening is that we're not going to be able to keep up with the ever-intensifying storms in these regions. So when you ask about what should we do to rebuild, it's not clear at all that we are going to be able to stay ahead of these storms or the rising sea level or the heat or all of these places. It's simply not going to be possible to and I mean, if you even look at what happened in North Carolina, right? One of the climate havens was Asheville. This was an area that was touted as a safe place to move if you were had a climate consciousness, and now that was essentially decimated. So I think we need to understand just how fragile this planet is right now, and that fragility is just going to be increasing.
And in the midst of the hurricane crisis in Florida, far-right Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene doubled down on her conspiracy theory over the weekend, following up a baseless claim that the government can control the weather, with an assertion that such a scheme might involve lasers. So how do you combat the crazy out there when the world is already dealing with the reality of climate change, which is crazy in itself? And what do you say to climate deniers?
Well, I can just put out facts. I cannot fight delusions. I can't fight that sort of insanity. But I mean, just for example, to get a feeling for the scope of what that claim means. For example, Katrina, the power of Katrina was about the same as 3 million Hiroshima atomic bombs worth of energy, right, and worth of destruction. So when you think that we essentially can sort of pull out of somewhere the equivalent of millions of Hiroshima bombs, and direct that energy to create these events, is so much beyond nonsense. I don't know how to describe the sort of lack of just basic fundamental understanding of the planet that sort of demonstration of illogic shows. I don't have a remedy for idiocy. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Well, appreciate you trying. Elliot Jacobson, thank you so much for talking with us. Appreciate having you with us.
I was thrilled about that. But, Jim, do we actually have a remedy for idiocy, or do we have at least science behind us to show what's happening and to let people know why it's not the idiocy?
Well, remember what George Carlin famously said: half the American people are stupid. The average American is stupid. Half of them are dumber.
God.
You know,
It's so sad.
as Elliot says, you can present the facts, but if people are just going to be so close-minded and continue to just, I don't know, live in the, as he said, be delusional, you can't combat that. You
Well,
really can't.
they don't feel they are delusional. Of course they don't.
Well,
And
a delusional person is the last one to realize they're delusional.
yes. Or
You know,
just how
John Cleese says something about stupid people just don't realize they're stupid. They're too stupid to understand they're stupid.
well, Jim, it's also misguided. The misinformation, I mean, you have to admit, the misinformation and disinformation is overwhelming. As I said, it's dangerous and it's overwhelming, and it has really captured a lot of people, even people I know and that I care about, are going down rabbit holes and without understanding the nuance to what they're reading. Or, for example, the patents. Anybody can have a patent. There are millions of patents. And I showed yesterday in my show that there are patents on hundreds of, maybe thousands of sex toys, but that doesn't mean that the sex toys are all on the market or they're being used. But you can patent anything, right? And so in my my quest today, I was also going through the fallback is always Operation Popeye. That happened. That's cloud seeding. People always want to talk about HAARP, which you're going to talk about. They want to talk about the nefarious things. They want to believe. They want to believe these things are happening, because I think it's easier to believe all of these horrible things that are so-called happening because they're really not happening. And it is maybe more of a comfort than facing climate breakdown head on.
Well, reality, it can be a very harsh reminder, and people don't want to go there. There's a point I want to pick up on what Elliot mentioned there, and that is, what's the new normal? Well, as we discussed just a couple days ago when Tony was on, the it's climate change is really a climate crisis, and isn't really climate chaos.
Mm-hmm.
The system is so chaotic now because the perturbations are so great and so unsettling, and continue to be unsettled, that the new normal is chaos.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new normal.
And that's
And
that's what they sow, is chaos.
And as I said last time, the rubber band is broken. It snapped, and all shit's let loose.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're absolutely not wrong there, and I didn't mean to do this. Sorry. All right, so I didn't mean to do that. I was out all day, by the way, guys, so I threw this together. I also had a shot in my shoulder for the injury I did, so if I'm a little off tonight, I'm trying to really make it as professional as possible. Okay, so that being said, with all the lunacy, I'm going to show you another video before we get into the explanations and all that. I'm going to show you a guy I found who is somebody that definitely ticks all of the points of pretty much all of them. All of the people that they parrot the same talking points over and over and over. Like I bring up Dane Wigington a lot. But this guy, his name is Ken Wheeler, and we're going to watch Ken Wheeler. He almost looks like he's in his parents' basement.
Was an article from May of this year. It says a tiny backwater town in Northern Carolina will help fuel the world's AI revolution with enough quartz. Now, importantly, this is super pure quartz for semiconductor production to power a $530 billion a year semiconductor global industry. I forget the name of the town. I did know it, but I didn't actually put the name of the town here. This apparently has like a 200 or 300 year supply to feed the entire world, in addition to the lithium mines, this extremely high, extremely pure quartz mine for semiconductor production is even more important than the lithium. But here's the masters that this serves of the destruction of Appalachia. And I can think of 7 off just the top of my head. And one of the Democratic consultants, I forget his name, he actually said this today. He said, well, you know, the upper class, our voters, you know, will have no problem voting. They're going to cut off people from accessing, I mean, radically. Weather is very good at radically swaying turnouts. If people don't have food or water or a roof over their head, they're generally not too concerned about, you know, who they're going to put the check mark for on November the 4th. So it radically sways people's ability to even access that. I mean, they don't even have fundamental supplies. The lithium mine, super important. We actually ship this stuff all over the world for semiconductor production. Sibelco is one of the others. There's another interest that owns a lot of land where this quartz mining is going on, and their name is not Darkstone, but it's something very close to Darkstone. I know exactly who I'm talking about. So you have the voters, you got the quartz mine, the lithium mine. It keeps people in poverty. When you bring people to their knees, and they become very, very easy to control. We've got about 10 masters here that is really, really good for the people that are trying to organize the Great Reset. And if it only checks off 5 of the 10 plus masters, I mean, you've done great. It's like this is wonderful. When you have something that serves 10 things that you want really badly, then it's just, you know, you got to do it. And I understand the mentality of their evil and why they would be doing this, theoretically, huh? I know this is still hurricane season, but
evil.
They can claim that, well, the climate, you know, look at this. This is direct proof that the climate is being affected by all you dirty, useless eaters. Yeah, too much CO2, you've been eating too much red meat, too many cow farts. So it serves that master, and if you get enough people to, well, yeah, it's true, it's a hurricane, I've never seen anything, even my grandfather never seen hurricanes like this, you must be right. Yeah, this bad things are going on here. So it serves that master, it serves the propaganda that all you dirty human beings, all you useless eaters, and cow flatulence, and your chickens, and the fact that you're growing tomatoes in your backyard, all that's causing super dangerous hurricanes to reach deep into central United States, the heart of America. Can't stand Tampa area. But it's already well established. Like, how can you turn that into a 15-minute city? So this serves many masters.
Buzzword.
Voters, lithium, the super important quartz mine for semiconductor production, poverty, putting people on their knees, land grab, forwarding the agenda that, oh no, your carbon footprint, you useless human eaters. What do they call it? What do they call us again? Useless eaters. It forwards that, oh, you're causing the world to be sick. Cow farts and you eating beef and your air conditioning system, you're contributing to global disaster. It serves that master. It serves the 15-minute city. It serves a lot of I mean, there's way more than I just listed here. I just listed 10 big ones, but there's way more than that. There's probably about 30 plus masters that this serves.
So he deals in paranoia, and let me show you in his show notes, there was not one reference to anything he spoke about. Nothing. All of the crap that you're seeing on his on there is all of the shit he's written over the years. And I read about him, and there's a lot of controversy about him because he's just another one. He parrots all the rest of them. I mean, Glenn Beck, years ago, I did my Agenda 21 show, and he is, Gary, you've got it so right. This is what he was called. It's the word salad. It's just a bunch of crap. Really, word salad. So let me show you what I found out about him. He's just one of many, and yet he has over 300,000 people that are subscribed to his channel. 312,000. Now, as he started, he was a photography guy. He was a big guy with he had lenses, and the controversy was lenses, really, seriously, lenses. And then he changed a lot, and he changed because they changed because they see the grift. They see the grift, and this is exactly what happens. So this is who he is. And Rational Wiki had said that he was a photography enthusiast, and but he has this channel, and we're playing, right? We're not frozen, are we? We have this. He has this channel, and I don't know. We're not frozen, are we? All right. So anyway, let me get you the channel. Here we go. I took that down. His theories attract flat earthers and electric universe believers alike, but he's outspoken against being classified that. But really, he's just another person, and they even called him just somebody that word salad, techno babble and word salad, basically. Okay, but as I showed you, there were no show notes. He calls himself Ken. He translates Pali Greek, and he's a former Russian translator. He writes books on metaphysics, specifically Neoplatonic. So all this crap, right? But he finds himself doing a lot of political commentary, actually. Demons, evil, power. These are the people that are feeding you all of this stuff. So I just thought I'd start out with one obscure one with a very big 312 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers, and the kind of kind of stuff that you see in the comment sections is just the lunacy we've seen. It's sad. This is really sad. I've been astonished at the number of people based on comments and reports who absolutely believe that all this is deliberate. We've learned about the patent numbers of the machines or systems. For crying out loud, the monsters think they won't face retribution. Who are the monsters? Who are they? Okay? But all these people, woe to those who lead with deceitful hearts, who enrich themselves while the cries of the people go unheard. For what profit is there gaining the world's wealth if it costs the soul of a nation? What I find, in my opinion, that this guy does is a lot of projection. And they project onto us or onto whoever what is really happening on their side, just like Trump does. Everything you hear Trump say is pretty much a lie, and they project what they are doing, and everything you hear what they say the other side is doing is what they are really doing. So I wanted to give you an example of just one person I found but it's hard to believe. I can't even get 5,000 subscribers, and we have quality scientific information here. There's nothing that's bullshit here. Would you agree with me, Jim?
It never ceases to amaze me the lack of critical thinking that abounds in society.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
Yeah.
And it's to our detriment.
I think so. Mm-hmm. And this guy, he's just one of many, and he was complaining that John Kerry had said that the First Amendment was dangerous, or that they were saying the First Amendment was dangerous. And of course, they all take everything out of context. It's not that the First Amendment is dangerous. It's just that the lies that are flying all over social media is dangerous. But nobody wants to say you can't get rid of the First Amendment or free speech. It's just, yeah. And Kevin, what did you say, Keith? We are living the idiocracy movie. Yeah, we sure are. Maybe I'll give that a little
Yeah,
applause.
who would ever thought Idiocracy would be a documentary?
Yeah, right. So anyway, we're gonna move on, but I really wanted to show you that, and Jim does have a presentation, but yet, did you want me to open up with the video you had sent me to start your presentation on? Actually, we're going to talk about the hurricane and why the hurricanes are doing what they're doing and behaving like they're behaving.
Well, I don't know. What did we want to discuss this harp thing, or did you cover that
Well,
yesterday?
I covered HARP, but I just wanted you to talk a little bit about what you know about HARP. You're in Alaska. You did at one time. You were with the University of Alaska, and you know people. Why don't you explain what it is and what it isn't? Maybe.
To sum up very quickly, HARP is simply a program that studies the upper Earth's atmosphere, the ionosphere. It looks at auroral activities. You know, it emits plasma, which is ionized gas. The ionized gas interacts with Earth's atmosphere, especially up in the ionosphere, where it causes excitation of molecules and atoms, and you get a nice, lovely auroras. Green usually nitrogen gas, which is a prevalent gas in the atmosphere.
Mhm.
You get red, which is oxygen. In fact, I didn't see it, damn it, but a couple of nights ago we supposedly had red auroras here in Alaska.
Mhm. I read about
But
it.
that's what HARP does. It studies auroras, and I am personal friends with the director of HARP.
Which is way cool. So
So
how did it get to be that harp, which is something these people completely don't understand, or like Dane Wigington, he twists it and makes it nefarious. Like that's how did it become such a conspiracy? How did it become something that was creating all of this mayhem?
because you have scientifically illiterate people who, for however, find themselves in positions of power and or influence, and because they're scientifically illiterate, they take some little smidgen of a smidgen of a smidgen of a smidgen of a concept that they might have remembered from seventh grade science, and then they just totally go with it and,
Right.
and, and go in like crazy directions that have nothing to do with whatever the hell they're trying to spew. And then they just twist it all around because they
Hmm.
don't understand diddly squat. I mean, when you have Nikki Haley saying HARP is causing weather, crazy stuff. And here we have a congressional race. We have Nick Begich, who is this crazy right-wing lunatic, and he's trying to unseat Mary Peltola. And
Hmm.
he's subscribing that HARP causes is a government conspiracy to cause crazy weather. It's like, do you even guys even look up? I mean, Nick Begich, you are from Alaska. Did you even look up to see what the hell HARP, a
They
program in Alaska, does?
They have an open house every year where you can go there. It is not even doing the kind
Yeah.
of research it had been doing, but there's an open house every year. You can see. You can go for yourself. But people like Dane Wigington, they will take and they talk techno babble and confuse their followers, and then their followers who think that, well, what was it that I was accused of being a Dunning-Krugerette? Well, that's quite a projection. Yeah, that's what somebody accused me of. And I'm saying, okay, these people really are suffering from the Dunning-Kruger syndrome because they listen to people that confuse them, but they think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's the exact point. They think they know what they're talking about, but they don't.
No.
And you mentioned the open house. You can actually sometimes you can go there and watch them fire off the rockets that go up into the atmosphere, and then from which they collect all the telemetry and all the data
Yeah.
for analysis. Pretty cool stuff, actually.
right? And another thing is here. Let's see if this will see how you see the contrails out. This was outside my house. Okay, these are contrails, and but to them it's chemtrails, and it's being sprayed nefariously. When this is why everybody's getting the hell out of Florida. But this is why. These are contrails spewed by all of the air flight, and we call them cap trails, capitalism trails, because every day is like this over North America at least, and that's where we get this. And if you just understand the atmosphere and why sometimes you see them and sometimes you don't, because of altitude, because of ice, because of wet, the different the differentiation in what's happening. It's just crazy to make that I mean, really, do you think anybody is really spraying to cool the planet? I mean, if they were spraying to cool the planet, Jim, would we be like we are?
You hear about these geoengineering schemes to do just that. Let's spray aluminum sulfate, up in the atmosphere, and then the aluminum sulfate, of course, settles out. It gets into the soil and completely destroys the plants and the crops. So it's not, like, oops, didn't see that coming. No, yeah, right.
Right.
Again, one of these unintended consequences that all these geoengineering schemes just fail to consider.
Don't worry, 5G will fry our brains and we won't care what happens.
Oh, I think people's brains are already fried.
But they believe that too. They believe that too. I actually have a friend locally who is completely, and this is an intelligent, educated man who is completely down the 5G rabbit hole. Do I think that actually the waves in 5G, they are the smallest? Are there problematic issues? There probably are. I mean, you think about it. Everything there are increases in brain cancer. There are waves for electronic waves going around us, but is it nefarious, and is it being done on purpose, and are they trying to kill us? But there's a science behind it, not a conspiracy. And everybody wants their cell phone. Everybody wants 5G or 6G or whatever. So, this is what we're going to have. This is what we have. All right.
Well, that's just it. I mean, we are bathed in EM radiation
Mm-hmm.
all the time,
But it's
whether
not
it's from radio
nefarious.
waves out. Exactly. Whether it's radio waves, X-rays, UV, IR, whatever, the visible spectrum, we are bathed constantly 24/7 in EM. And you know what? We evolved to handle that.
All right, let's see. I just want to say, cloud condensation nuclei is created burning fuel. Why is it okay from fossil fuels but not from other sources? Rain doesn't notice, right? That's what it is from flying. I mean, this is exactly what happens. It's not anything nefarious. We are capitalism trails because everybody's flying. Okay. I think
Well,
we're,
that's
yeah,
actually one of the issues with this whole sulfur stuff,
yeah.
because having the cleaner fuels from commercial shipping, so that there has a lower sulfur content, there's less sulfur, and say, oh, now this is causing the warming. Well, it's the continual pumping of greenhouse gases that causes the warming. Is there a aerosol masking effect? Yes, but it's minimal. It really is. When atmospheric scientists estimate the effect of, it might account for 0.42 C warming over 100 years. I kind of call that a minimal effect. But the whole point of that is you have these aerosols. It is, as the poster just mentioned, it does provide a source of cloud condensation nuclei, to which you then form the cloud, and then maybe the top of the clouds reflects sun energy back to space and so on. So, yeah, fossil fuels provides cloud condensation nuclei. So do volcanic emissions. So does sea salt spray.
Yeah.
I mean, you have numerous sources for cloud condensation nuclei that could be anthropogenic or natural occurring, be bio or thermogenic. They're there,
Mm,
like
it
everything
is.
else. Construct the budget.
All right. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job covering this part. Let's go back to sharing the screen. And I know you have a presentation, and I had a little bit more information on the historical documents, the memorandums. They'll be in the show notes of weather modification, and Operation Popeye, which is the go-to. It's all in here. But if it did work, why didn't we win the war? Okay. We didn't win the war in Vietnam. We pulled out. So obviously all that cloud seeding we did. And here with Operation Popeye from 2018 from Popular Science, the US government made weather instrument of war. Okay? It's not that we're saying it didn't happen, but you have to always think of, like in law, intent. What is the intent, and is it happening? Even back in 1972, Seymour Hersh wrote an article, Rainmaking is used by a weapon. So you can read all of this and come to your own conclusion that the intent may have been there to try, but if it was working, it's not happening with hurricanes. I'm sorry, it's just not. And there's another one. I'm getting tired of Truth Stream Media. It's getting old seeing people completely deny the existence of weather modification. Nobody's denying it. If it doesn't exist, please explain the National Weather Modification Policy Act of 1976 public law. There are hundreds of arcane laws that are on the books, okay? You can read this, you'll do it all by yourself, but when you want to lead people down rabbit holes because you want to sow fear, it's more of a control, in my opinion, than what those people on that they say that the control. I mean, like I said, I said on my show yesterday, I don't think the Department of Defense is clean. I don't think the CIA is clean, but you have to look at the intent, and you have to look at the situation now, what they said about Helene and what has been said about this new one. And you see that this guy says, oh, they want to take over Tampa to make 15-minute cities. They want to take North Carolina to get the lithium out. To me, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. So, Jim, now that I've done that, do you want to watch your video, the guy on the hurricanes, and then do your presentation?
Sure. Did you want to? Which one did you want to play first? That little GIF thing?
That's up to you.
Maybe
Sure.
Yeah, maybe she showed that one first.
All right.
Just
Let me get
set
there.
things up.
Yeah, let me get there, and let's get this guy off. The guy that's sitting in his mother's basement. You know what? They didn't hear you. You're going to have to say that over again. It muted itself. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead.
Before.
Just tell them
Okay.
again because I just realized it was muted.
Let's make sure that you guys hear me first.
Everybody can hear you now. I didn't realize it was muted.
Okay. So what this GIF is showing is the average for the month of August, the average upper ocean heat content for the upper 300 meters in the Atlantic. So it starts from about late 1950s going to about the early 2020s. And the vertical scale shows the upper ocean heat content as measured in watts per square meter. And overall, if you starting from about say 1980 or so, if you were to put a regression line through that, we see a definite significant positive slope, indicating that there is an overall an earth energy imbalance, and some of that earth energy imbalance is being measured here in the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay. So that is partly why some of the situation is happening in the whipping up of hurricanes that are of strengths and things that we've never seen before. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's and this is going to be, all
This is
are
yeah.
pretty much either fitting polynomial or exponential functions,
Yes. I have
not
to
linear.
Okay. So now, would you like to share that really sweet video you sent me of the gentleman, Jim Cosset?
Oh, right.
Yes? Are we ready?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Hang on. Hang on, guys. This time I'm going to try to make sure nothing happens. It's
There are ways that we can homogenize data back to about the early 80s, and this has been done. And it's just in the process now, that data set of being updated. And the answer that we get now is yes, that in a global sense, there is a signal that has now emerged, and emerged in the sense that it has become statistically significant at 95% confidence or greater. And that's kind of a requirement that we have in this branch of science. But this has emerged. So what we're finding is that the strongest intensities are becoming stronger over time. And we're finding that the number of the strongest storms, the frequency, in a proportional sense, is also increasing. In other words, whether or not you have more storms or less storms, when you do have a storm, it's more likely to become a major hurricane than it was 40 years ago. So we are, and there is something called an emergence timescale, and that's where these trend signals can come up above the noise. And as you mentioned, the fact that these hurricanes are rare events and that they can be so variable from year to year introduces quite a lot of noise into our time series. So we need a fairly long time period or a very strong amplitude trend signal for it to rise above that. And some work done some years back found that the emergence timescale for things like the strongest storms getting stronger would be on the order of about 40 years. And that's just about where we are now. And sure enough, when we homogenize these data and we look globally, we do start now to see an emerging trend. And the nice thing about that is that in terms of body of evidence, we now have sort of the trifecta that we want. We have, and when I say we want, I say we want it in order to be able to make a confident statement. We certainly don't want this to happen. But the trifecta being that we have observational evidence that this trend has been occurring in the past and that it is significant. We have numerical simulations that are very consistent about storms getting stronger under warming scenarios. And we have a very good physical understanding of this. We understand the thermodynamic constraints on how strong a storm can become. And we know that if we change that, if we increase that, we could call it a speed limit. So at any given time and place, if you plunk a tropical cyclone down there, that environment it's in will dictate how strong it can become, all other factors being optimal. That value increases as we warm the planet. So it makes complete physical sense that if you increase that limit, you're going to start to see stronger storms. And that signal is going to manifest most significantly at the higher levels. It's the strongest storms, of course, that do all the damage, or most of the damage. Like you say, we can get a tropical cyclone or a tropical storm that rains a lot and can do quite a lot of damage. But in terms of real devastation, these really devastating events, they're usually major hurricanes. So we're seeing these increase, and the models are saying they should be increasing, and the theory is saying they should be increasing. So we, at this point, have pretty high confidence that that tropical cyclones are getting stronger, and there's a clear human fingerprint on that.
And here we are, the clear human fingerprint. And we're going to show you a little bit about the clear human fingerprint tonight.
I want to mention, to kind of clarify, when he's talking about homogenizing the data, what he's basically talking about is removing the noise, and then what's left is the actual signal. And a typical method or a technique that is done to do so is using a Fourier smoothing function to analyze that. So for those of you who've had advanced mathematics, you all know about Fourier transforms and so on and so forth, so you know what I'm getting at. But
give us a little bit more.
Do
you think everybody understands? All right, go ahead.
A Fourier transform is a way to smooth the data to remove extant noise, and then what's left is the signal.
Perfect.
It's a way for you smooth the data, and then what's left is you fit a function to it. It could be polynomial, logarithmic, exponential, linear, trigonometric, whatever it is. But you do some sort of curvilinear afterwards to get the function. Then you test for significance and goodness of fit and so on.
Okay. Thank you. Now my brain opened up. The seas parted and I got it. All right, Jim. So take it away.
Okay. The first couple of slides here are just simply showing water temperatures. It's in the red, which means it's very, very warm. And as you can see here, all around the Gulf Coast and Florida, was seeing temperatures in the 80s. There's not even, except for the one exception in 78, all the temperatures are in the 80s. This is very warm condition. Now, keep in mind, September is the oceanic summer, so that's when we expect to see the warmest temperatures. Now, this is basically the middle of October, so we should start seeing a cooling down. Well, that doesn't really look too much like it's cooling down.
No.
All that much. And as part of that latent heat energy, which is why they say that the hurricane season runs through November, part of that latent heat energy that as it cools down, it goes into the atmosphere and helps fuel the storms. But when you got so much ocean heat, there's a lot of fuel.
Yeah, a lot of fuel. Do you want me to move? Tell me when to go.
Sure. Yep. Next one here. It just shows basically with these slides, I started around Florida and I moved to the Gulf and I moved to the Atlantic. So as we can see, it's the entire Gulf. It's even to the east and west of the Yucatan Peninsulas, north and south of Cuba, west and east of the Florida Panhandle. Just a lot of warm ocean waters out there. Just a lot of it. Yeah, it's just amazing how much there is with that. And of course, with these warm waters, you're going to get stratification, which will impact productivity. Okay. And again, this is now expanding out more into the Atlantic, the lower part of the North Atlantic, and again we can see for the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, we see very warm temperatures. Look at that, 87, 88 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's just insane weather. Okay, so now we're starting to get at the anomalies here. And when you look at the anomalies, when you get into the yellows, oranges, and the darker oranges, that is a further increase in the anomalies away. So basically, we're talking about, the departure from average. And what's interesting is there's that couple little spots on the Pacific side where it's a little cooler, but that's almost an anomaly in and of itself. But when you look at the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and even starting to go up the eastern seaboard of the U.S., everything is warmer than average. Warmer than average. And this one shows some more. And look, when we get up towards around the Canadian Maritime, we're pushing almost 5 degrees C above average of an
Wow.
anomaly.
Wow.
Let's look at that.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Now you also have to keep in mind, you have to look and see what's the state of the AMO, the Atlantic Meridional Oscillation. You have to look at the state of the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO. So they can influence short-term patterns. But the Atlantic Ocean is just warmer than average. That's just, and we see more of this. I mean, this is just, I mean, look up around Newfoundland. That's supposed to be the Labrador Current coming down there. That Labrador Current is supposed to be one of the coldest currents on the planet.
I mean, there is some cold, as you see, but it is certainly not the extent is certainly not as normal. What is normal anymore? As Elliot said.
This right here, just a little southeast of the southeastern point of Newfoundland, it could be part of some of the colder currents coming down from higher latitudes.
Okay. All right.
And now this, maybe you can shrink me down a bit and see more of the graphics there.
Wait a second.
Because I think I'm covering up part of.
I'll just move the graphic.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so now this is showing the average sea surface temperature anomaly. So this is SST, and they do by different depths. They do from this reddish line is right at the surface, and then I guess they're using Morse code here, dash dot, whatever. So then they go down to 10 meters, and and they base this on different data sets like GOM, global, and so on. So they have looking at 3 different data sets here. But what do we see? These are anomalies here. So 0 is the average. So when we look at from basically before 1980 and compared from like 1950 to present day, basically a 70-year period, we see that from the last 40 years or so, the average sea surface temperature anomaly has a positive significant slope. So when I say significant, the slope is significantly different from 0, meaning it's not a flat line. So if you remember your basic high school algebra, a flat line has a slope of 0. So we test for that. It's different from that. So this is a slope that is not equal to 0. So it's a significant slope, and it's increasing. And looking from the middle of the 2010s to current day, we don't see so much the seasonal. It's almost like the seasonal cycle has kind of got discarded for a little bit.
Right.
But we see an overall increase in the sea surface temperature.
Jim, I have a question that is pertinent now. Why does the graph of sea surface temperature show a steeper increase after 1980?
Well, basically because as with all the additional heat being put into the system, with warmer seawater is less dense than cooler seawater when you hold the salinity constant. So it's not sinking. When the
Back then.
sequestration of heat, the sequestration of heat and CO2 for that matter, down to depth is slowing down.
Hmm.
Now, I've made the argument that the planet overall went past the tipping point in the mid 1990s,
Wow.
mainly because of this slowdown of sequestration to depth, great depth, so that we now have some 68% or so of all that heat energy basically concentrated in the upper 500 to 700 meters or so worldwide. It's going to differ from locality to locality, but it's basically because the heat is not being sequestered to depth, it's lingering and accumulating in the upper few hundred meters. And thermodynamics informs us that there's going to be diffusion. And if it doesn't go down, it's going to go sideways and up.
Yeah, there you go. Sideways and up. All right. Here's the next one.
Okay, I wanted to put this here because the next slide we're going to look at, this describes what we're going to be looking at here. So I want to, basically give the background as to what we are looking at here. So if we can go back, okay, so spatially integrated ocean heat content in the Gulf of Mexico between 1950 and 2020 as a function of depth. And so Hatch indicates data coverage less than 30%. No, there's incomplete data. Okay, and then the B would be the linear trend of ocean heat content change in the Gulf of Mexico at standard depth levels. The rate is divided by the thickness of each layer to make them vertically comparable.
Okay.
Shading area shows the uncertainty of the linear trends, 95% confidence intervals, and then the trend is estimated using this would be B. The trend is
Right.
estimated using linear regression for each standard depth for that 70-year period. Trends are statistically significant at all depths, p-value less than 0.05. Standard depths are defined as 0, 10, 20, 30, 50, 75, 100, 125, and so on, basically all the way down to 2,000 meters.
Okay.
Anomalies are relative to the 1955 to 2006 baseline. And then the last one, C, would be vertically integrated ocean heat content between 200 and 600 meters. So someone asked the question earlier how a temperature is measured or obtained in the oceans. Very simple. You drop CTDs. CTDs are devices called conductivity, temperature, density.
Mm-hmm.
You lower these things. You create a vertical profile.
Mm-hmm.
It measures temperature on the way down. It also measures the conductivity. And from the conductivity, you can then use that to calculate the salinity. And then when you have the salinity and the temperature, you can calculate the density. So it records all this data. You pull it back up. It then downloads it to your computer, and you see an instant, printout of the data. Then you take these individual vertical profiles, you run a transect, and then you can create a curtain, if you will, of the temperature, salinity, density profiles along a transect. So let's say you're running a latitudinal zonal transect, you can then get a picture of what does the ocean temperature look like from the surface to whatever depth you measure down to on that latitude. You can do
Right.
the same thing for meridional on the longitude. You do the exact same thing, and you put enough of these together, you can then create a 3D lat-long picture of
All right.
the ocean temperature or salinity or density.
You take a
So,
question. Oh, sorry.
so this is A with these hatchings and the bluish purple and the reddish color here. This is the integrated ocean heat content in the Gulf of Mexico. This is basically given in
Oh,
joules
look
per
at
meter.
this. Yes. Wow. It's a little
And
hot.
from 1950, 1970, it's on the cool side, right? And then starting in about the mid 80s, looky.
Yeah. It goes up, 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 like we always say. Up, up, up.
And we can see some warming
Uh,
down to 1,000 meters. From like the
yeah, that's deep.
2010 to 2020. But look at the upper 250 meters. Let's just draw everyone's attention to that. We see a lot of heat concentrated there.
Let me ask this question really quick before you go on, because I know she really wants. The starting point for this current hurricane seems unusual. How do they usually start, and why aren't there more hurricanes from this area in the Gulf as opposed to how many start in the mid-Atlantic? Or does the water temperature below the surface integrating with the with the warmer surface? See, I think because this is pretty much what you're talking about. She just wants to know, how does it start?
Basically, it's vorticity. You have Earth is basically a liquid body. It rotates, so you're going to slosh the fluid around, and you have to balance. You have to balance the pressure gradient that results. You have to balance the wind stress, especially the wind stress curl, and then you have to balance Coriolis. So the three major things as to why gyres form, and then from there why you get mesoscale eddies, which really is how these storms start, is from mesoscale eddies. You have wind blowing on the surface. It creates a pressure gradient difference. You balance it, so water wants to flow down the pressure gradient, but Coriolis deflects it, and then because of the Coriolis deflecting it, you then have a wind stress curl. So you got the wind stress curl, you got vorticity, which is a fancy way to say a tendency to rotate, and then you have the Coriolis. So all these things have to balance, and this is why you get gyres. And then from the gyres, you get these little pinch-off mesoscale eddies, and these mesoscale eddies can also, the atmosphere and the oceans are connected, so then you get that connection to the atmosphere, and then again with the pressure differential, the temperature differential, you can start forming a vortex in the atmosphere.
Gotcha.
The Gulf of Mexico does have some rotation in that, but usually not enough to form cyclonic activity of such scale. Well, this is one of the changes that's coming about from climate change, is that because there might be enough potential there now, because of all the changes happening in the ocean, that this can now become something that's more frequent. But usually, to answer the question, it's because of the storm tracking, this, that, and the other thing. And another thing to keep in mind is new research has shown that the roles of mesoscale eddies is extremely important. In fact, it's like the main mechanism by which the ocean and the atmosphere communicate with each other.
Wow.
So, for example, when you have, how does CO2, how does heat, how does whatever go from the atmosphere to the ocean or vice versa? It's the mesoscale eddies. If mesoscale eddies, when they pinch off the main, flow, they can either pinch off and rotate counterclockwise or clockwise. If they're pinching clockwise, well, clockwise creates a convergent zone in the middle, which then, this is northern hemisphere, folks, which then has a downwelling. So when you look at mesoscale eddies that are spinning clockwise, they're taking material from the atmosphere and putting it in the ocean, and so you're drawing it down. When they pinch off and they rotate counterclockwise, it's the opposite. It's because now we have a divergent zone in the middle, so you have an upwelling. So you're taking whatever's in the ocean from upwelling, and it goes up and into the atmosphere. Well, and we call counterclockwise flow cyclonic. So what are these storms called? It's called cyclones,
Right.
because they spin counterclockwise. So when you have these little mesoscale eddies spinning counterclockwise or in a cyclonic direction, and not anticyclonic, when they spin in a cyclonic direction, they're taking the ocean heat in the water and fueling the atmospheric cyclones.
And because it's so warm, they're
And
becoming
because it's
bigger and more
so,
intense.
and in the past, when it's, sucked up all this ocean heat energy,
Hmm.
eventually you're going to pull up cool water. Well, we pull up cool water, you're no longer going to be, you're kind of cutting off the fuel supply for this atmospheric cyclonic activity. Well, we've got ocean heat content down to hundreds of meters now. We're still pulling up warm ocean and water.
Oh,
Fuel
boy.
that continues to fuel the atmospheric cyclone.
Hmm.
This is why we're seeing, oh, it was just a tropical depression yesterday, and now it's a Cat 4.
Right. And there's no mystery.
You know,
It's not a conspiracy. There's no mystery. This is why it's happening, folks.
it's not HAARP. And we have to keep harping on this, but it's not HAARP.
Are you ready to move on?
But well, actually, no,
Oh,
I'm not done with this
oh,
panel here.
forgive me.
But in all seriousness, this is why the storms are why they ramp up so quickly in such a short
Okay.
time, because the cyclonic activity in the oceans from the mesoscale eddies fuels the cyclonic activity in the atmosphere. And you got a shitload of heat in the ocean, you're going to put that shitload of heat in the storms, and then they move and distribute it. Cyclonic activities is a heat or an energy distribution mechanism for the planet.
All right. We got that.
So now, if we look at the B panel here, which is on the right hand side here, okay, this is the change in ocean heat content per time. That's what these little symbols here. It's a partial derivative,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's in joules per meter per year.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing here is, and by the way, there's a scale here. So whatever the joules are, you multiply by 10 to the 17 here, and we can see. So this gray area is the 95% confidence, and when you get down to a certain depth, right, these scales line up here. Yeah, we're not seeing too much a change, but when we start getting the shallow depth, starting at looking about 500 meters, 600 meters or
Right.
so, we're seeing an increase in the ocean heat content over time.
Okay.
That's what that's showing. And the bottom panel here shows just between 200 and 600 meters. So we're looking at a 400 meter layer that's away from the surface. And in the 1970s, yeah, it was kind of cooler.
Yes.
Look what
Look
happened
at that.
starting in 2000. Starting to see it
Down and up.
on the positive side, meaning it's starting to accumulate.
Okay. And then this one.
Now we can move on to the next one.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh, that was
Good.
just a little scale there on on the lower right
Oh,
there. That was
yeah,
just,
that's what I thought. That
that,
was the scale for
yeah,
me.
that was that's just a scale there.
Okay. And here we go.
So this is the change in ocean heat content per year. Again, joules per year. So they break this down between 0 and 50 meters, 50 and 200 meters, 200 and 600 meters, 600 to 1500 meters. Again, 10. This is in joules times, so 3 times 10 to the 17. Okay. Now this is just for the Gulf of Mexico. When we talk about the overall ocean heat content, we're talking what, the 10 to the 22, 10 to, right?
Oh.
We're talking zettajoules, which is 10 to the 21, and then if we have it's 20, or it's actually 200 zettajoules, 400 zettajoules, that's 10 to the 23. That's the whole ocean. So you still, for 10 to the 17 for the Gulf of Mexico is a lot of heat for
It
this
looks like it.
smallish body of water. But here's the thing. Okay, 0 and 50 meters. Yeah, look at that here, right? 2 to 3 times 10 to the 17 joules per year increase. 50 to 200
Every
meters.
year.
Okay, it's like 1 to 2 increase. Time again. This is all times 10 to the 17. Even 200 to 600 meters, we have heat down. Look at that. And all the
But
way down to
it's
1,500 meters. We
yeah,
have
and it's
heat.
still hot.
It's still all this energy all the way down to 1,500 meters.
And that
Most of it
is,
concentrated in the upper layers, but all the way down to 1,500 meters.
yeah, and I
Why?
heard something about that today, Jim, that's why some of this is pulling it up, and it's more energy, pulling it up from the deeper parts of the
Well,
ocean.
that's what I just described a
Yep,
few moments ago.
yep,
You have this upwelling. It's
the
upwelling this warm
upwelling.
heat.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't
Wow.
forget, Milton was,
Frightening.
I mean, right now it's Cat 4, but it was a Cat 5 yesterday. It was like there was 175 mile per hour winds. It was a Cat 5.
Yeah. I think
Cat
it's
4 is
gone,
still packed a punch.
it's gone back and forth. It's ebbed and flowed. All right.
But this to me is quite telling what is showing here.
Yeah.
You know, all that heat in the Gulf of Mexico, and why Milton and before that Helene just go back to the earlier graphs that we show all that heat there. Well, why these storms just ramp up so quickly and pack a huge punch.
Okay. We ready?
Yep.
All right. Here we go.
This is vertically integrated ocean heat content in the Gulf of Mexico. Now they're given in zettajoules, ZJ zettajoules. So I guess that's purple, 0
Yeah.
to 200 meters. Light blue, or I guess blue, 200 to 400. Light blue is 400 to 700. And what's that, orange?
It's sort of yellow. It goes purple, turquoise, light green, and yellow.
Okay, thank you.
And
And
then
then
we
whatever
have
that is
orange,
for 1,000.
orange,
Okay.
and a dark green, dark, 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 or maybe black, and then a green. And it's showing us oh,
These are the slopes.
yes.
This is showing you the rate of increase. So from 1970 to present, or to 2020, it's basically 0.38 zettajoules per decade.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at it from 1992 to 2017, this green line here, it's a steeper slope. It's 0.50 zettajoules per decade. That is a lot of heat energy being absorbed by the ocean.
I'm getting
And
hot
remember,
looking at it.
and remember, the specific heat of water is much, much, much higher than that for air.
Yes. You've taught me that. That's right. Okay. Are we ready?
And
Oh,
this last slide just simply, this is the source for the last, like, 5 slides or something like that. But
okay.
it's an article, Upper Ocean Warming in the Gulf of Mexico between 1950 and 2020. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the authors in the Journal of Climate, and those are the citations and so forth.
Okay.
I
Now,
just wanted to give the accreditation.
which is great. And I would like to tell anybody that would like a copy of this presentation to simply email me at environmentalcoffeehouse@gmail, and I will send it to you if that makes you happy. Okay, I'll send it to you. And
I'm
all right.
actually, I think I'm probably going to do a deep dive on that paper itself for my channel. So over a lot of those graphics again, but there's some other graphics in there, but and a little bit of math. So go over the math, but so I'm probably going to do a deep dive on that
That would be
paper
great. All right. And
for
then
my
we will
channel.
put that link and we'll make sure everybody knows. Now let's take some questions, Jim,
And
because
and
go
the
ahead.
the deep dive I make for my I'm doing something new. I do like an abstract synopsis that's for the public, and then the
All
deep
right.
dive is available for my for those who support me on Patreon or my YouTube community and so on. It'll
Excellent.
be exclusive for those folks.
Okay. And all the links will be, of course, in the show notes. So now we get to the meat and potatoes of some questions, and then I can thank the super chats. We'll go back to Gary. I think the pint, Jim and Elliot previously made Oh, the point made in the key. It's in the key. We ought not to talk about climate change or even climate emergency now, but climate chaos might be a more accurate term, which I'm saying climate breakdown. I think climate breakdown, because chaos is something that's going to turn people off, but climate breakdown, it's a workable word. It's breaking down. We're seeing it breaking down by all these storms. I think people can understand that a little bit better. A little bit better. Okay. Oliver.
Well, the breakdown leads to chaos.
Well, yes, but they're already sowing chaos, honey.
Yeah, I think though that we need a punch in the face term to get people to wake the F up.
I just lost his comment. God damn it. Well, he was talking, Oliver from the UK was talking about how the Brits had done something and I lost it. God damn it. Hang on a second. I'm going to find it because I clicked it off and I do want to find it. Oliver, hang on a second because it was a good one and I unfortunately unclicked the star. I told you I was a little off today. My shoulder is a little hurting, but hey, at least the doctor told me I'm not going to need anything more than exercise, which is good. If I can't find, wait. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. I don't think. I'm really sorry, Oliver. I'm really sorry. Oliver is a wonderful person from the UK who had great questions, but I lost it. Okay, so how about Singing Way, Karen, at what depth is water temperature measured, please? I think you talked about it, but
how long's the cable attached to the CTD?
Yeah. Also,
I mean, seriously, we can go down thousands of meters.
Do satellites measure also?
Satellites measure sea surface temperature, which is the skin of the water.
Okay.
Some depending on the wavelength that is set up, sometimes they can measure a couple meters down, but no more than that really. You know, you're going to get 0 to 2 meters, maybe 5, maybe 10, depending on certain parameters and so on. But if you want to get a profile like we just showed earlier, all the heat content down to 2,000 meters,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
You have to drop a CTD over. You have to drop an actual instrument over and let the instrument record.
Hey, we've got a comedian. I know it's not him. I'm such a big fan of Environmental Coffee House. It's not. It's misspelled. But whoever did it, you're hilarious. You are funny. Funny guy. Okay, let me thank the super chats. And we have Kristen. My God, everybody's been extremely generous tonight. Thank you. Thank you for the channel. You're welcome. I thank Jim for coming with me tonight. Nadia. Slander, libel, hate speech, incitement to violence, where not genocide and coups d'etat, mass deception, foreign subversion, disinformation, all need the First Amendment to be rethought from ground up. Okay, that's going back to the beginning when I was talking about the First Amendment. Maybe it does have to be rethought, but we aren't going to get rid of it in this country, and you know that.
The thing, though, is that all these platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, I'm sorry, I still insist on calling it Twitter.
I call it Twix. Twix.
Or Jitter, maybe. But all these platforms, they're private enterprises. They're not beholden to First Amendment rules and laws.
No, that's true.
That's the government.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
people kind of forget that.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they can do whatever the bloody hell they want, which sucks, especially when when they deplatform sane people and promote crazy people.
Crazy. I got Oliver's back. In the 1950s, the British government did an experiment with geoengineering around North Somerset, and there was a huge weather incident at Lynmouth, a huge flood rushing down the gorges, and many died. And I think the rest of it was that they decided this is not something they were going to do. However, do you know about that one, Jim?
No, I was about to ask Oliver, what exactly was this geoengineering experiment?
Yeah,
Was
but
it
I'd love it to
cloud
be.
seeding or something?
He'll
I
let
mean,
me know. He'll let me know in our chat. We have a different chat, the climate crisis chat. Oliver will let me know, and Jim, I will get it to you. Jim, you should join our climate crisis chat. Anyway, it's really full of the most amazing people. Uh, so, all right, that was that. So, in other words, it was something that was recognized and stopped and stopped.
well, as you know, I'm usually extremely critical and extremely vocal about basically just about every geoengineering scheme out there,
Mm-hmm.
because there are always parameters that we can never anticipate, didn't anticipate, interactions we didn't account for, interactions we didn't anticipate, etc., that the desired outcome is rarely, if ever, attained. And when you throw in, chaos theory, this is why I prefer saying climate chaos. When you throw in
Okay.
chaos
All
theory, where
right.
the slightest perturbation in initial conditions can lead to wildly different results, and that includes the addition or subtraction of a parameter, known or unknown, interactions known or unknown. This is why geoengineering will never ever work. And let's face it, we've been doing a big geoengineering experiment for 3 centuries.
Yeah,
You're
we
not
have.
gonna
It's true.
you're not gonna undo it in
Yeah.
1 to 2 decades.
You
You're
you
just not gonna undo it in 1 to 2 decades.
you're cracking me up. Don't discount the elephant in the sky. Stop it. Is that Looney Tunes? I think it's Looney Tunes took on the other persona. We have a great chat. I love you guys. I love this whole thing. Okay. Thank you,
Well,
Deirdre.
what's that little poem there? Little birdie in the sky, why did you it in my eye? Good thing elephants don't fly.
Right? That's from our side. We're showing our age. Dwayne, thank you. Dwayne, thank you for the citation, Jim. Okay, and Dwayne is graduating. He's defending his PhD on Thursday, and I have been invited to listen. I am so thrilled.
Oh, good,
Dwayne,
good,
I,
good luck with that.
yeah.
What's your topic?
Well, if he puts it that, if I hope he's still here. Dwayne, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. Okay, and thank you, Oliver. Hey, you're all helping me with the kiddies tonight. That's my big thing. You're all helping me
Oh,
with the kiddies. Yes.
everyone who's gone through the
Thank you.
defense process and all that kind of stuff. There, it's understandably a stress out time. You freak out and all that kind of stuff. Remember, no one knows your research better than you.
And yes, Andy, I know correlation is not causation. How I don't know where you said it from, but I went to college and I did statistics for most of my career actually. Uh yeah, it's yes, Dwayne, me too. I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled. All right, so we have, let's see. We had someone from FEMA on our Space on Subway, as well as a bunch of local folks from Western North Carolina. That was on Sunday, right? Which I only stay. I wasn't on for very much time, but that was interesting. Tossed Jim into the Climate Crisis Club chat. Feel free to comment and post. No worries. Cool. All right, Jim, you got a whole other bunch of incredible people. Incredible people. I mean, the world is full of incredible people. And I feel really cosmically, spiritually blessed to me meeting them. I may not have to leave my home. And yeah, if the power goes out, I'm screwed. But at least, it's amazing. Like with Jim, he's up there in Alaska. But I feel like I can just say, Jim, I'm hugging you. I care. I care. Yeah, definitely care.
Oh, thank you, to Alex, for that. So,
Fernando Silva and Danielle McKay's incredible piece on the ongoing criminalization of land defenders in Honduras and the role U.S. companies play in it. Very interesting, Drew. We'll have to take a look at that. if you send me. Did you send me that? Drew sends me a lot of things to look at. And I love you all, and I don't have time to look at every single thing that everybody sends me, but I do get them. But remember, if you want that, if you want the little PowerPoint thing, I will send it to you. So how are we doing out there, guys? Do we have any more questions? Oh, wait. Did I see this? Could I ask them if oh, did you cover this one? Could you ask them if the depth of the warmth are deeper or if the currents pull it down? Okay. I think you did with the upwelling, and you talked about that. So are the currents pulling the heat down from the top, from the sea surface temperature?
That's the typical mechanism by which you increase energy to deeper depths in the ocean, thereby increasing the temperature, usually through some sort of thermohaline flow or some sort of what's called Ekman pumping, where you have upwelling, downwelling. Those are the typical mechanisms.
Right. And we've done shows on that. We have them, Gene, on our playlist with Jim. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we've done it because that's how I learned about it. Because every time I do a show with Jim, except for tonight, I have to study. I have to study. Wanda, so Jim, is there any chance Milton will come back to life once it's in the Atlantic and come back to haunt us, hit us again? I don't think so, personally.
No, that's actually quite likely, because if you
but
look
it's going out the other way. Okay.
But look at the current projected path. It's going over Florida and it's going back out over the Atlantic. So once it gets back out over the Atlantic, with all that heat we just showed earlier, it could get refueled. It can get refueled and can ramp up again.
Really?
Let's see. It's possible. It cannot be discounted.
Well, maybe we can look and see. I'm trying to pull up somebody that's showing it right now, but that's not. They're showing the highway. Hang on. Somebody I won't get a copyright from. Tracking Milton. Okay, that's not it. No, I'm looking. Actually, I was looking for Ryan, because Ryan Hall had said we could do that. So if you give me a second, I'm just going to see who is actually covering it live right now that week. Oh, Max Velocity, he's still live. And okay, I don't know what he's showing right now, but hang on and I will. Oh, he's showing. Oh my gosh, you know what he's doing? He's showing graphs, kind of like you were just talking about. But he isn't it's funny. He's showing wind and speed and all that, but it's not quite. We wanted to look at where it was. So maybe we could find where we are. I don't know. WFLA. All right. Well, here we go. This is what it looks like right now. So when you say it could come out the other side, it's supposed to go through Florida and come out the other side, Jim?
The current pathway that I saw is it goes right across Florida, west, from west coast to east coast, back out over the Atlantic, where they're projecting that it will still be a Category 3.
Yeah, so it'll be a Category 3 on this side, all the way on the other side. Possibly.
On the Atlantic side,
right.
But with all the warm oceanic water there, it could easily ramp back up to a Category 4 or 5 again.
No shit. Wow. Look at that. Look at this.
There's the trackway, and when it gets onto the Atlantic side, okay, that must be an update, because now it's saying it's a 1, but it can still refuel.
Damn.
Because you got all that ocean energy there, it could still refuel.
Wow, that's scary. That's frightening, but it is pretty intense to look at what we're seeing, and it is going to hit. It's going to hit, I don't know. Tomorrow, it's going to hit tomorrow night. But you're right. Look at that, how it goes. Well, right now it's projected to go out to a 1, right? A 1.
Yeah, that's an update, because last I saw it was a 3. But still, once you get over the warm waters, it can ramp up again.
Holy crap. let's hope. Let's hope it doesn't.
Hurricanes usually end when they either dissipate over land or when they get to over, if the track continues over ocean, they get over cool oceanic waters where they no longer have the heat energy fueling it.
Mm. Well, that's really something else. We're going to be watching this closely. Very, very closely. And tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, I'll be on Left Past 10 for our 1 year, 50-second show anniversary with Jake and the Letter Hat Matt and Andrea, which is a political show, which is not environmental, which is my fun night of the week because I don't run the show, just to let you guys know that we are doing our 50-second show. And maybe I'll be able to cover the hurricane on that show because it's going to be hitting. So also, Lightning Rod, what's most impressive is the amount of wildfires in the hurricane zones right now. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. So are we good, guys? Do we have any more questions? Any more questions? The new movie Twister, is that a real thing? Blowing up the cyclone so it disperses? We'll try anything, right?
I have not seen it, so I can't really
I often
say,
think about that, Jim, though.
But that sounds a lot like Trump wanting to drop a nuke in the middle of a hurricane, doesn't it?
Yeah, but with all the advents in geoengineering, maybe instead of, making hurricanes that are going to damage and land grabs and all that, perhaps scientists are working on ways to dissipate them. We don't know. But that's something actually that, and she had one more. I'd like my jewels to multiply exponentially. So would I. But you know what? You can't sell them. Try selling them. Try reselling them, which I've been trying to do. Okay.
You can patent them.
Our jewels. I can patent the ring. Okay. Yes, I appreciate this. I appreciate this interaction between ocean and atmosphere is amazing stuff to consider. Mother Earth is always moving energy and water to an all manner of ways we know not of. And Kai says it still surprises me how little emphasis is put on oceanic heating. I guess it shouldn't, but it's going to be catastrophic. And that's why Jim is here.
Remember, of all the energy input we humans have inputted into the planetary system via the burning of fossil fuels, 93% of that has gone into the oceans, 2% into the atmosphere, and then 2% absorbed by ice and land mass and so on. So 2% in the atmosphere versus 93% into the oceans. Last time I checked, 93 is a bigger number than 2.
Yeah.
You can think of the oceans as a huge battery, and that battery is now turning into a huge capacitor because it's discharging all that energy.
I was supposed to ask a question. Somebody wanted me to ask a question, and I'm going to go back and see if I can find it. It was quite a while ago, and it was, hang on a second, guys. I'm going to see if I can find it in that chat because she asked me to specifically ask you, and she couldn't watch, but it's quite far back. But if I can find it, it would be terrific. Her name was... Let me find it. Oh, I don't know if I can find it now. I may have to ask you because it was early. Let's see. Oh, maybe I can find it. All right. So she was asking about something about Hunga Tonga. I've been directed toward recent research on Hunga Tonga that models stratospheric H2O and reaches opposing conclusions to the early research saying it would push us over 1C. My plots indicate that early research may have been correct. I haven't seen any evidence. I may not be able to catch your podcast, but I'd love to ask Jim about what he thinks is causing the currently unexplained portion of the sudden 2023 rise in sea surface temperatures. I'm still looking for more ocean oscillation modes to subtract out of my SST trace and maybe identify what's going on, but it's incredibly slow going. So basically, she wanted to ask you, what do you think is causing the currently unexplained portion? Do you know about that?
Unexplained portion
Of sea surface
what?
temperatures becoming so hot. Are they?
It's the thermodynamics, it's the physics of the oceans, it's the heat energy content that's moving upwards because the sequestration to depth is slowing or stopped in certain locations. So the heat moves sideways, which melts ice at high latitude, or it goes up, increasing the sea surface temperature, then diffuses to the atmosphere, warming the atmosphere. I don't want to hear people say it's aerosols because it's not, but it's the ocean heat content. As I just mentioned, 93% in the oceans, 2% in the atmosphere. Oceans are the drivers of climate.
I'll clip that for her. She'll be happy. Okay, let's see. John, have you seen a climate model that reduces the sun's energy by 1%?
Talking about solar output energy by 1%.
It must be.
I can't say I have.
I don't know anything about it either. It was an interesting question. All right. Like Jean says, it's an interesting question. Yes, it could make a difference in models, maybe. That's interesting. Guys, you guys
But
come up with,
I,
go
I
ahead.
will say one thing though. Studies have actually analyzed the influence of variations in solar output, energy output on the climate system, and they've found that depending on which analyses you look at, what are the parameters, what are the levels, but they say that the sun accounts for, I think, what was it, 4 to 7% of the climate variation over, you know, like thousands and thousands of years, which 4 to 7% is means that 96 to 93% are other factors. So the variations in the sun's output is actually negligible when we consider the time scale of humans' activities now.
All right. Well, this has been quite a show. And I see Deidre, she's been talking about, and I've been doing this with, I don't know, Jim, if you saw my interview with Samantha Montano, who wrote the book Disasterology. She is a disaster manager, teacher, professor, PhD. And we have been tag teaming all week to try to dispel all the bullshit on X. And it is exhausting. And someone told me I need to shut everything down because I'm getting overwhelmed. And Matt had no power, the letter hack. Here in South Carolina, they cut down hundreds of acres of pine all the time everywhere. Even though it grows right back, it's still bad for the environment. Climate change, right? And he lost the power for a whole week. I love you, Matt, by the way. He knows I do.
I did see that show the other day with Samantha, and
Oh, good.
something I think I even left a comment in the chat on that. But something that I
Oh,
also
yeah,
want
you
to
were
pick up
there. You were there. That's right.
is something I also want to pick up on what Elliot said earlier in the interview you played at the beginning of tonight's podcast. You know that oh, let's just rebuild. Well, it's really, if you're really objective about it, it's not realistic because sea level rise, storm surges, what have you, these places are going to get wiped out. And we are now seeing a situation that more and more places on the planet are becoming more and more inhospitable to
Yep.
humans, whether it's sea level rise, where coastal areas become unlivable because of what the sea is doing. You know, not just the Maldives, but just go up and down the eastern seaboard, go to Gulf of Mexico, go to Shanghai, whatever. But also places like the Middle East, it's going to get too damn hot there. 50 C temperatures all the time, too hot for people who live there. So you're going to get all these climate refugees. And also, people think, hear about sea level rise, they just assume, oh, the coastal areas get flooded out. It's not just coastal areas.
We saw that now.
It's river basins. Like, for example, the Mississippi. You get sea level rise, you get the riverways, especially the riverways that go into a continent, they flood. So we're talking the Mississippi, we're talking about the Amazon, right? You're talking about these major waterways and so on. Yeah, those areas are going to be. Just remember, North America was actually split in two when sea levels were up. You had the inland sea there. New Mexico was fine beachland. It was shoreline. Back in New Mexico back in the day. So it's not just coastal. We're gonna lose interior places as well. And again, I go back to the point there with the overpopulation, because we have all these people. We're going to pack them all there, and as we lose land because they're inhospitable to live there, because of all that is happening, is putting more stress on the dwindling resources. Where are you going to house these people?
Oh, come on, Jim. We can all fit in Texas.
Where are you going to, set aside sufficient land to produce sufficient food when you have this trade-off of housing people, setting aside land for food production, setting aside land for business conduct? As I said, the rubber band is broken, and this is going to spiral worse and worse from here on in. I'm sorry to say, it just is. I'm not hopeful at all.
Nobody asked you to be. You're looking straight at you're looking straight at the data, and it is what we're seeing. So we end on a doomer note, but let's just hope, and however we all pray and hope and wish around for people and living beings, sentient beings, animals. Nobody talks about the animals all around the world. I'm looking for someone to come on with me that's going to talk about the rescue efforts of animals in these things. So I don't know by Friday night if I'm going to be able to find somebody that has time to do this. But we can't forget about, it's not just about people, guys. It's about the animals. Farm animals, wild animals, all kinds of animals. And so we didn't do a flush, Jim. What do we want to flush? Guys, do you have an idea? Anybody have a flush? Every time I ask them, it takes forever. You got a flush idea?
Yes. Yeah, Trump and Vance for spreading all the bullshit about rescue workers and so on, and Marjorie Trader Green for the bullshit of the your carbon is good and things are greening and warming, all that crap.
All right, here we go.
Flush those idiots.
We're flushing them. Bye-bye. We flushed them right down. There you go. All right, we flushed them. They're gone.
I want to. Gary Hoover just made a comment. I got to see if I can find it here. Yeah. And I appreciate the comment. It says, Jim's doing systems thinking now, exactly what we have needed.
I saw it.
Well,
yeah.
Well, if there's anything being an oceanographer teaches you to do, is to think system-wide. Because everything's connected.
Absolutely. And we have someone with us that, where is she? I want to welcome her to our show. And she has a show also, Blue Tomato. Thank you. Nobody talks about the overpopulation except me and my 80-year-old dad. I can't see a future where we don't ruin our ecosystems and our species collapse. That's right. Thank you for being here. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
and thank you for that comment because it's spot on. I mean, I have made this
Yes.
argument for some time now, and I did a video on it some years ago talking about overpopulation. The, based on survey papers that I, peer-reviewed papers that I looked through, the the estimated range for the carrying capacity for humans on this planet is between 100 and 600 million, and we're at 8 billion.
That's pretty hairy.
So we're well above capacity.
Well,
And
we do talk about this on this channel because we are one of those channels. We are not afraid of talking about what is in front of our faces. I have to say thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for what you do. Listener requests, please find out who I think the pseudonym Niall Shepherd person is and invite him on for a chat on your channel. His latest chat with Guy McPherson is a wild eye-opener. I absolutely will. Thank you for that. My kitties are going to thank you because right now I have vet appointments and gosh, I'm not not going to say gosh bless you, but I'll say Gaia bless you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I will find out who it is. And damn. Woo! So I suppose that was a little bit loud, but all right, everybody. Thank you for coming. And hopefully I'll have some clips from this for everybody. I'll try. I'll work on making clips. Plus, it's wintertime. It'll be wintertime soon, and I'll be finished cleaning up all the outside stuff once my arm heals in the garden and have more time for the channel. So to do what all the other YouTubers do, make clips and all that wonderful stuff. So, hey, guys, thank you. What do we say? Peace. That's one of the most important things. We need
thanks
peace.
everyone for stopping by. And
thank you, Jim. I love you. See you tomorrow night, guys. Left past 10:52. Woo, babies. Thank you.